More than 3 billion people are now connected online, but the payment infrastructure is still stuck in the 20th century. Well, the people at Ripple hope to change that by creating the world's only enterprise system for global payments. And today, we welcome the CEO of Ripple.com, Brad Garlinghouse, to the program. It's a fascinating discussion about all things blockchain, as well as XRP, the currency which has seen a rapid rise over the past month. So let's dig in with the token that holds the number 4 spot in crypto market cap by getting answers directly from the top. It's episode number 67 of the Bad Crypto Podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition.
Who's bad?
This is Scott Crampton from Empire, Michigan. You are listening to the Bad Crypto Podcast. Stay bad, bitches.
Wow, Mr. Joel Comm, the CEO of Ripple today.
Yeah, he's going to be here on the show. We've actually already recorded it, so there's no chance of us scaring him off. But should we be on our best behavior?
Yeah, I think I was thinking that we probably shouldn't be too smart-assy in this one like we normally are. Just because people throughout all of Ripple and the finance industry will probably be listening to this one.
But we're naturally smart-assy. We are authentically smart-assy.
My mom always used to say it's better to be a smart-ass than a dumbass.
Mama was right about that. And maybe this interview will have ripples in the cryptocurrency community. Ooh. Oh, snap.
How?
Welcome to the Bad Crypto Podcast, the show for the crypto curious and the crypto serious. I'm Joel Comm. That's Travis Wright. And collectively, we are glad that you're here. Thanks for listening.
Yes, this what is the first real episode of 2018, folks. Welcome to the new year. We hope all your dreams and wishes have come through and true through the holidays. And it's time to get back to work, folks.
Yeah. And for us, work means talking to each other about the beautiful, delicious cryptocurrency world. Because this sucks. We have no fun.
Grind. We're on the grind and the hustle today, folks. I mean, this is some hard work.
We are on our way now, having passed 1 million downloads. We're on our way to 2 million downloads and trying to achieve world domination by being heard in every country of the world. We're still trying to figure out how to get into North Korea, past the firewall they have up there that lets nothing from Western civilization in. But we're going to figure that out. Maybe we can send a little crypto missile in, that wouldn't hurt anybody. It would just, when it lands in the country, if it gets through their defenses,
there would just be bad jokes.
Yeah, people hear "stay bad." That's they'll be looking up like, "What is that?
What is
that?" And they're like, "I don't know, but it's beautiful,
wondrous." I have a question, Mr. Joel Comm. Do we have to sing a song when we reach 2 million downloads?
We don't have to do anything, but I think we should.
Okay, so every 1 million downloads we see, it's going to get to the point where we're going to be doing like a new song every month.
We'll have an album, we'll just be pumping out songs. How about you guys let us know what song we should parody? Send us your suggestions to badcryptopodcast@gmail.com or go to our website at badcryptopodcast.com and click the contact form. Of course, lots of people contacting us there for a lot of different reasons. For those of you asking us to send you Bitcoin, sorry, what you want is bad coin. And you can still get some, but not for much longer. And more on that coming soon.
I have a question though about that. If we're gonna do an album, I really want to do bad crypto.
That will be your solo. You're going to have your moment.
Not a big fan.
It's going to be fantastic. I can't wait. Well, we'll get to the CEO of Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse, in just a moment. But first, let's go ahead and hit the mailbag.
Bad Crypto Inbox. You've got mail.
Austin writes us via the contact form that we were just discussifying, and he says, I've only been accumulating crypto for a few months now, but each time I buy, I get a little more concerned about the storage of my coins. I keep everything off exchanges and transfer to my Ledger Nano S right away. But if my house burns down tomorrow, knock on wood, then I'm not only homeless, but also cryptoless. I've purchased another Ledger Nano S and will probably store half of my crypto on the second one and keep it in another location just to be safe. But I feel like this issue will prevent or at least slow down mainstream adoption. Burglars may start breaking into houses looking for seed phrases and leaving behind the flat screens. What are you guys suggesting for storing and keeping your offline wallets safe from disasters? Do I need to start remembering my seed phrase like it's my social security number? Love the show. Stay bad. This is a concern that I think anybody who's started to accumulate any, number of coins is going to, begin worrying about just a little bit. And it's a great question.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, you could tell as more people accumulate more and more crypto, I could see like 2 or 3 years down the road, there's going to be a paranoia about the crypto that has never heretofore been seen ever before. So there'll be some really good crypto psychiatrists that will help you with your neurosis in the future. One thing you can do is you can make multiple copies of this. Right? Maybe leave some of those seed phrases with a family member that you trust, or to make duplicate copies and place them in a safe deposit box in a bank, or, put it in a waterproof thing and bury it in the backyard by your tree or something. I mean, I don't know. You could geocache it somewhere if that makes you feel safe, but you can, that's the thing about this is you can put those seed words and those private keys in multiple places, but just put them in places where you'll know they will be and keep them safe. That should be a pretty good solution for you. What say ye?
I'll tell you what, all of my substantial holdings, that means the greatest part of that, which I'm intending to hodl, I couldn't even tell you my seed or how to get to them. They're all off site. They're not in my house. They're not in my computer. They are somewhere else secure. So even if somebody, dug through everything I have, they're not going to find it here because I don't want it here.
I don't want it here either. It doesn't.
I'm planning on hodling for the long term. I don't need to have it here. So all of those things are elsewhere. And if you're planning on hodling for the long term, then there's no reason to have it in your house. There's no reason to have it in your mind. As long as it's somewhere secure, off-site, then you should be okay. But of course, you got to figure out what's going to work for you. And I just keep a minimal amount of what I need for trading handy, and that's it.
And Tyler writes us, I bought Bitcoin for my dad and brother-in-law as Christmas presents, but I bought when it was $7,100. Now I want to keep it all for myself. How do I deal with the pain of giving away that sweet, sweet Bitcoin in the name of crypto evangelism? Love the show. Stay bad. Greedy Tyler. Great question, Greedy Tyler. I would say this. Well, if you're concerned about that, well, then just give them half as much as you were going to give them before and then hodl the rest. I mean, it's your choice. And plus, this is already airing after Christmas, so I'm sure you have figured out a solution to this already.
Yeah, well, I just look at it this way. If you invested at a low point, just tell them, hey, I bought this for you at 7,100. And here's where it is now. You could already see that this is increased in value. And so that might excite them even more. If it was intended as a gift, then give it as a gift and just be happy you were able to bless somebody else with such a wonderful gift.
Yeah. And if you would have given them the gift anyways, it would have still risen after you had given it to them. And so what's the difference?
It's the gift of crypto.
No. Can I have some of that crypto back real quick? I mean, I gave you too much.
Give me back my Bitcoin, man.
Bad crypto voicemail. You have one new message.
This is Jeremy Avan from Birmingham, Alabama. You're listening to the Bad Crypto Podcast. Stay bad.
Mr. Travis Wright, super excited about this interview that we got to have with Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple.com, in which we discussed a good many things, including how Ripple is its own company and how XRP is the token Ripple, and the two are intertwined, but they're not the same thing.
That is true. And we had an amazing conversation with him. And matter of fact, he is originally from my backyard here in the Midwest, and we both went to the same university. So that pretty much means we're brothers,
which we'll discuss here in this interview. So settle in. I think you guys are going to like this. We really enjoyed our time with Brad, and let's go to the interview. Travis, I don't know if we've had anybody from Bitcoin Central. Well, wait a second. There isn't a Bitcoin HQ, is there?
Of course not.
So we can't get a Bitcoin HQ person. And we haven't gotten Vitalik on yet.
That's true.
We have spoken with Roger Ver of Bcash fame. And today we're pleased to have with us Brad Garlinghouse, who is the CEO of Ripple, which is presently, as of this recording, the number 4 crypto listed on CoinMarketCap in terms of overall market capitalization at a paltry $30 billion. And Brad, welcome to the Bad Crypto Podcast.
Great to be here, guys. Thanks for inviting me.
We're glad you're here, and we've got lots of questions because not only are we curious, but our listeners are very crypto curious. I notice here from your bio, you've spent time as president of consumer applications at AOL, and you held various positions at Yahoo, including a senior vice president position and many other things. And I wanted you to know that we have both Yahoo and AOL in common. Because I created Yahoo Games, which was sold to Yahoo back in 1998.
Very nice.
Yeah, and the other thing we have in common is AOL. I have a stack of AOL discs somewhere in my basement. So
we are connected deeply.
Yeah, in our roots. So tell us a little bit more about your background and what brought you to Ripple.
Well, I've been out here in Silicon Valley for about 20 years. I've done a whole bunch of different stuff. I was fortunate to come out here in kind of the first .com wave and I think the earliest days of the internet. And it's not that often in my career that I've seen what I think is really another movement that I think is similar in size and similar in potential as the first wave of the internet. And that is what I'll generically just call the blockchain space. And I think what you really are seeing is a fundamental movement in a bunch of different industries that'll be impacted by it. And I kind of make fun of some of the stuff that goes on out here because I joined Ripple about 2.5 years ago, and I had the opportunity to join a couple other things. And, the world does not need yet another food delivery business or another dog walking company. And I think there's a lot of stuff that just is interesting. I'm not saying you can't make money doing it, but it's not that often in your career you get to work on something that could fundamentally, it's usually Steve Jobs' comment, put your dent in the universe. If Ripple's successful in what we're doing, it's really about enabling an internet of value, enabling value to move the way information moves today. It's a big deal. It fundamentally changes the way commerce works. And, I'm proud of the fact the progress we're making. We got a long way to go, but, so far so good.
And I want to throw this out there real quick as well, Brad, because you and I have some things in common because we both went to the University of Kansas. Rock Chalk Jayhawk. And, we're all if you go to school at the University of Kansas, you become a big basketball fan. So let me ask you this, it's completely crypto related. What is your favorite Jayhawk moment?
Oh, for sure. Mario Chalmers, 2008. We're down. He's inbounds at Sharon Collins. I think dished it to Mario Chalmers.
Oh, nailed that 3 to tie it versus, I just got chills right there. I love that moment.
Hey, you two get a room, okay?
No, that's great. So Ripple, you guys are, we've had a lot of conversations with a lot of folks with different types of blockchains. And one of the things that always pops up around Ripple, and quite frankly, it's one of the reasons why I think I've personally stayed away from investing in it, is more of the centralized nature of it, right? There's billions of them, right, in circulation. And so I was always looking at it going, oh man, it's at like 14 cents. That's probably the highest it's going to go, I guess, right, you guys? And then all of a sudden it takes off again. So, what was the thought process behind the decentralized nature of Ripple? Because it seems like banks are really liking that approach versus the decentralized approach, like a Bitcoin or a Litecoin is. And if you could maybe talk about that and the difference and why you guys chose that.
Look, there's a lot of misconceptions about what Ripple is. There's a lot of misconceptions about what XRP is. And, I'll start by saying those are two separate different things. XRP is a open source, open blockchain. It is decentralized. Ripple, the company, owns just over 60% of all XRP. Ripple, the centralized company, is investing resources and time and energy into the success of a decentralized platform token called the XRP ledger. Now, so Ripple is building really a payments company on top of the XRP ledger. And we go out and we talk to banks, we talk to payment providers, and we've been really fortunate to get over 100 banks now, 100 financial institutions, one way or another, engaged using our technologies. And the more we do to get banks using our technologies, the more opportunity we have to have them using XRP as a liquidity tool and how they manage their global liquidity footprint. I can go way into detail on that. But I think there's a lot of things misunderstood about Ripple, because in the earliest days, Ripple took kind of a contrarian view. The Bitcoin community was anti-bank, anti-government, anti-fiat currency. And Ripple, even in the earliest days, was kind of like, well, we don't think the banks are going away because we don't think the government's going to go away. And we think there's a role for fiat, and we think there's a role for digital assets, but we also don't think fiat goes away. I was actually, we were talking a little bit, obviously, before we jumped on this part. And, look, I think one of the problems that we, the blockchain community, face, the crypto community faces, is we continue to have actors in the system who are just repeatedly pretending that things like government institutions and regulations should go away. And sure, are we too regulated in certain ways? Maybe. But things like the SEC are there for a reason. It's to protect investors, it's to protect companies. And you can't just take, decades and decades and decades of learnings and throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Well, as long as we're talking about that, we mentioned just before the show that Roger Ver just tweeted something that when we all saw it was like, wow. And he quoted Milton Friedman, who said, you should want more insider trading, not less. And he tweeted Bob Murphy Econ, who said there shouldn't even be an SEC. Maybe the context being of what just happened recently with Bitcoin Cash suddenly being sprung onto Coinbase. What are your comments on that?
Look, Roger, I think, has had obviously a huge contribution at a macro level, but I think examples like this are actually destructive to the progress we're trying to make. And I say that when I say we, I'm not talking about Ripple. I'm talking about we, the blockchain community, we, the crypto community. Governments aren't going to go away. Regulations are going to go away. They're there for a reason. And yes, sure. Are there examples where I think regulations have gone too far? Of course. But I just think it's really irresponsible and actually can serve to take us backwards in the progress we're trying to make into having digital assets be truly an institutional asset to truly solve enterprise problems at scale. And by saying things like the SEC should, we want more insider trading. Really?
Yeah. Well, speaking of going backwards, hey Travis, let's set a foundation here just in case people don't know what Ripple is. Could you kind of just explain what especially the people listening are interested in XRP, right? Because that's what they're either buying or selling or ignoring. What does it do? And why does it have value?
Well, so I'll start by saying, look, I think any digital asset is going to, over the long term, the value of that digital asset is going to be about the utility that it drives. If it's not solving a real problem, it doesn't serve a purpose, it doesn't somehow improve efficiencies, then I question, what is the long-term value of that digital asset? XRP is an asset, a digital asset that Ripple is using to improve efficiency, reduce cost, reduce friction, a very efficient way of moving value. One of the reasons why I think XRP has done very well recently is I think people increasingly are understanding that while Bitcoin has other use cases and Ethereum has other use cases, when you talk about payments, the latest, the BTC transaction cost is around $28 right now. And XRP transactions is a fraction of a penny, and that's at scale. So, I think that while Bitcoin, I'm personally long Bitcoin, so this isn't at all an anti-Bitcoin. If you want to solve a payments problem, Bitcoin is not in a position to solve a payments problem, particularly when you start talking about micropayments. You talk about other use cases that we haven't even really broached yet. So XRP is an extremely efficient digital asset. The throughput we have today is around 1,500 transactions per second. The time to confirm a transaction is about 3 to 4 seconds. And the cost, as I said, is a fraction of a penny. And I think as people have realized how efficient XRP is in solving that payments problem, it really has gotten people excited about, hey, Ripple as the company is generating a lot of momentum, a lot of traction, and getting more and more customers, banks, payment providers, using our technologies, which in turn allows them to take advantage of a product we have called Xrp. Xrp is using XRP to fund real-time liquidity, which I can dive into if you want.
Yeah, I have a question about this, Brad, because I've transferred with, I've traded with a lot of cryptos, and I noticed that Ripple Stellar Lumens and BitShares, they seem to be smoking fast with those transactions. Like you send that. I mean, Litecoin to some extent. I mean, at least when you send Litecoin, that's what I pay my kids in their crypto allowances is in Litecoin, just because they love to send. Well, my daughter particularly, my son, he likes all different types. With my daughter, she loves the fact that boom, I send it to her and then it's in her box, even though it's not fully processed. She sees it. She's like, all right, I'm good. I got paid. I'm done. I'm going to go read a book now or something. But
next week.
Yeah, I'll see you next week as I'm sending out all our bad coin. But what's interesting about this is that, the payments are so quick. And then as you just mentioned with blockchain, some of the various different blockchains like Bitcoin, even Bcash isn't that fast. I mean, the transaction speeds aren't that quick. They still take a while for them to reach consensus before that gets traded. So why is Ripple so fast whenever you come with these global payments?
Well, it fundamentally comes down to a different architecture of how a blockchain can work. And as you guys know well, the blockchains we're talking about today are almost all driven by proof of work as how we confirm a transaction. Ripple uses the XRP ledger uses something called consensus. We were actually the original kind of inventors of that. Some of the earliest guys that worked on the XRP ledger were Bitcoin engineers who were working on Bitcoin in the earliest days and realized, look, the direction that Bitcoin is going is going to have real scalability issues. I think it probably took a little bit longer for some of those scalability issues to raise to the fore, but I think it's why they developed the XRP ledger in the way they saw it, because it was going back to the vision. How do you enable an internet of value? We can do 1,500 transactions per second right now, but when we think about success, and by the way, Bitcoin I think right now is around 15 transactions per second. So we're kind of 2 orders of magnitude better. But 1,500 transactions per second for us isn't enough. Like we think about an internet of value where there's micro transactions being enabled between connected devices. We're an internet of things, these connected devices, some of them are going to be economic actors. And then it's not talking about moving, your daughter's allowance. I hope you pay her at least 10 or 15 bucks a week. But, it's about moving 15 cents or 1.5 cents. And now you're talking about you have to have a technology that is wicked efficient and scalable in a way that really we don't have any capability as a society to do that today. And some of it gets into kind of science fiction and kind of examples, but I think in the world we live in 10 years from now, you are going to have examples where micro transactions are part of the system.
So Ripple's had an interesting ride these past couple of weeks. It had been sitting around a quarter per token, and it shot up. Actually, right now, I'm seeing an all-time high of 81 cents. It seems to really be riding the wave. The circulation on them is approaching 39 billion, but the total supply is closer to 100 billion. And so people wonder what is with the 55 billion that are in lockup in escrow?
Well, so it's a great question. Again, I think kind of there's some fake stigma out there and some misunderstandings, misconceptions about what's going on. The first thing is
fake stigma.
Fake stigma. So the first thing I'd say is Ripple, the company, is more interested in the success of XRP than anyone else because we own a lot of it. But one of the things we kept hearing in kind of that fake stigma was, what happens if Ripple dumps our XRP on the market? Well, the first thing I'd say is, why would we ever do that? That's not rational, but okay, fair enough. There's concern out there. How do we take that away as a concern? And so what we concluded is we can use as a proof point of our own technology a feature on the XRP ledger. It's an escrow feature that allowed us to lock up 55 billion XRP, and every month 1 billion unlocks for 55 months. Now, we're not going to use 1 billion XRP every month. At the end of that month, we will then lock up what we don't use into a 56th month, and 57th month, and so on. We use XRP for a whole bunch of things. One is, as a centralized company, we pay our engineers, we invest in, we incentivize market makers. We do things for the health of the XRP ecosystem. So by locking it up in the escrow, we kind of took the wind out of the sails of those who are kind of spreading FUD that, hey, well, wait a minute, this could happen. Like, well, no. Well, first of all, we would never do that. But because you're concerned about it, let's just lock up that supply. So there's a known supply schedule so that people will understand that. And, it's there in a way we can't take it out.
Is that supply schedule public somewhere? Because that would answer a lot of people's questions if there was, even a diagram showing how this works.
I mean, we've done a post on Ripple Insights. It's a blog that Ripple does, and it talks about the escrow and what the supply schedule looks like for the next 55 months. We've talked about how much XRP we have historically used in a month, and so there's lots of data out there. We try to be very transparent. The second thing I'll actually share, proactively, there's something we release once a quarter called the Xrp Markets Report. And the Xrp Markets Report shares very transparently everything that we think is going on in the XRP ecosystem. It talks about what XRP, the company, used for different purposes, and kind of just a view from us on the whole ecosystem.
Now, that's important to keep people up to date on what's going on. I think this is interesting stuff here. So I want to know about this now. So the coin XRP. Now, is that intended for, day-to-day use by individuals to hold and trade? And like some stores are like, they're able to take payments in Bitcoin and some Litecoin, et cetera, et cetera. Now, is that something that you see that Ripple is going to be utilized for? Or was it designed solely as a system to facilitate, long distance fiat transfers for banks?
It's a great question. First of all, I'll make the somewhat humorous joke because I know you guys. I think you're
both very serious here, Brad. This is serious.
Yeah. Very serious. Very serious. The first thing I'll point out is, and I'm not the first person to point this out, but if you're using Bitcoin to pay for a cup of coffee, by the time the Bitcoin transaction is confirmed, the coffee is going to be cold. So when I think about the efficiency of XRP, of course I think about use cases that go beyond the institutional stuff that Ripple, the company, is doing. Now, there are other people building on top of the XRP ledger today. We want to see more people build on top of the XRP ledger. We have announced, there's obviously people building funds to invest in the XRP ecosystem. A guy named Mike Arrington, founder of TechCrunch, has launched a $100 million XRP fund. We've got a couple other things we're working on in that context. But look, I think there absolutely will be people doing things using XRP for purposes that aren't just institutional payment flows that Ripple is focused on. But Ripple is very much wants to make sure we're solving that macro. If we're enabling internet of value, we've got to get the repositories of value connected to that so they can do real-time, very efficient, very low-cost transactions. And the banks have to be connected. We can't pretend the banks are just going to go away.
I hear XRP, and I being a radio guy, I go to WXRP. There's a New York radio station. It's like, you guys should just buy the radio station, have crypto radio, and feature the Bad Crypto podcast,
and hire you guys. Absolutely,
right? I mean, because that's what we do. So, we interviewed somebody towards the beginning of the Bad Crypto podcast. One of our earliest episodes, we had a name you'll be familiar with, Jed McCaleb, who was the original founder of Ripple.com, was with the company from 2011, 2013, and now founded Stellar Lumens, which you referenced. Stellar just announced a really big deal with IBM. And people want to know, when are we going to get the household name announcement from Ripple?
Well, I mean, look, I think Ripple's announced a whole bunch of household names. I think one of the more recent ones was American Express. But
Heard of them.
Yeah, you've heard of American Express. I mean, look, I think there's a lot of science experiments going on out there, and not just, the blockchain space. Let's be honest. There's a lot of hype, right? For me, it's all about how do we solve real problems for real customers at scale. And so I've been fond of saying science experiments are not a business model. Instead, we think about how do we use real problems for banks. We got a whole bunch of household names: Santander, Standard Chartered, or a couple of the big banks. The largest bank in Japan, MUFG, is Bank of Tokyo Mitsubishi is the brand name behind that, but they're a customer. So look, we have over 100 banks we work with today. We have payment providers that we've announced, like Qualix not too long ago. So I think there's a whole bunch of household names, but we want to continue to grow. The other thing I'll just mention very briefly is Ripple's working with the Gates Foundation, a pretty household name in some ways. Yeah. And where they're actually adopting Ripple's open source technology. It's a technology that was developed here called ILP, Interledger Protocol. An Interledger Protocol is kind of at the foundational level of the technology we sell to banks today. We're working with them to take that type of technology to unbanked communities across the world.
Hey, Travis, I think Brad just basically said we're all in a petri dish, right? It's one big science experiment. We're like these little crypto organisms battling for, our piece of the magical internet money.
That's great. You're a Joel Meba. I just came up with that. That was horrible.
I'm going to send you 5 Dogecoin for that one. That was good.
No, I'd rather have some Ripple. Oh, hey,
XRP.
there we go. I have a question about this. So with the value of XRP, now how does that impact the Ripple protocol, or does it? Because as the price is now, sort of mooning a little bit, it's up, 75 cents or more. Does that higher price reflect higher adoption or utilization? And as far as these banks that you're working with, are they more attracted to that high value XRP or low? And as Ripple increases in value, are those transaction costs going to increase like they did with Bitcoin?
No, I mean, we've already been able to scale. I mean, so backing up, and at the end of the day, we are about solving a problem around payments for banks. The price of XRP, the company Ripple wants to see more and more demand and usage and velocity of XRP. We want the XRP ecosystem to be incredibly healthy. And so I think what you're seeing, the interest in XRP and the appreciation of XRP is increasingly an understanding of a couple things. Ripple has real customers. We are solving a real problem, and that problem is measured in the trillions of dollars. Our technology, the XRP ledger, is the most efficient of any of the blockchains out there in terms of solving this payments problem. And that's measured by transaction throughput, 1,500 transactions per second. It's measured by cost. We're talking about a fraction of a penny to confirm a transaction. And it's measured by the speed of the transaction, such that we're able to do this in 3 to 4 seconds. So I think that the appreciation in the price of XRP is a reflection that Ripple's making real progress in solving a problem for real customers at scale. And it's a big multi-trillion-dollar problem. We're talking about $27 trillion of capital is tied up in banks and payment providers and corporates around the world that are pre-funded accounts. We can use XRP to provide real-time liquidity. And this fundamentally changes how the global kind of engine of commerce works. If we can, spray a bunch of WD-40 in there, and it's actually good for the entire global commerce to accelerate the speed through which we can actually make this work. And not by trying to circumvent the banks, not by trying to circumvent regulators, by working with them and making it more efficient for the entire globe.
Nobody's got a crystal ball, but you get to have conversations and you get to talk with banks and you get the sense of how they feel about crypto in general. When do you see a complete flippening happen from crypto taking over fiat? When does our society and the world go, this is what we do now?
Well, I've got 2 answers to that. The first is, I'll tell you a quick story. I had just joined Ripple about 2.5, almost 3 years ago now. And the CEO of a very large bank in Australia was visiting our office. And he said to me, the smartest thing Ripple has done is not put the word bit or coin in the name of the company. And the point being that there has historically been a perception problem. Maybe it'll persist. But in a world where Bitcoin is associated with Silk Road and Alphabet, banks, that's not fake stigma. That's real concern. And, fair or not, that's the reality. What has changed dramatically in the last even 6 months is the conversations we have with banks that historically are just like, look, we'll use Ripple's technology for fiat to fiat settlement, but we're not sure about crypto. What's starting to change very tangibly is if they can use a digital asset like XRP to solve a problem, make a product faster or less expensive, like these banks are capitalists. They understand they want to offer better products at lower cost. That's good. And so the flippening that's happening is, I think, 2018 increasingly see more and more people, realizing that, look, there are tokens focused on solving illicit problems, and that's gray or black market stuff. Great. What Ripple's trying to solve is not that, and we're trying to work with regulators. So now the second part of the answer is, I don't think we're close to the flippening you described of going, from fiat to digital assets. I think there's a role for digital assets to play, but frankly, walking to the University of Kansas and buying a ticket in dollars or buying a beer at one of the local watering holes with US dollars works pretty well. I don't think we're going to be any flippening anytime soon, but there is a role for digital assets to play in reducing friction and accelerating speed. And for Ripple, that's focused on cross-border payments.
Spoken like a true CEO.
Yeah, that's great. I want to ask about banks, right? So there's a lot of different banks in the world. So let's say, for example, Wells Fargo. Do you foresee them like creating the Wells Fargo coin versus the Bank of America coin versus the Citibank coin versus the different banks in Europe, and then them trading in their own cryptos over time, utilizing the Ripple protocol? Or do you foresee XRP being that mode of transportation or transactions?
It's another really good question. And for those that are really interested, I actually did a post on LinkedIn talking about my view of kind of bank coin ideas, because there's been a lot of talk out there. I think there's a lot of problems with bank coin as a premise. The one I'll just spend time on for today, given the limited amount of time, is just will Wells Fargo's coin be adopted by JP Morgan? Will JP Morgan adopt the B of A coin? Will the B of A coin be adopted by the HSBC? Like, it kind of like, whoa, wait a minute. You know, that's not solving a real problem. You're not going to get banks to all adopt a competitor's coin. And so now we have a whole bunch more coins, and we still need that interoperability, right? And in Ripple and XRP is about that interoperability. So maybe some banks will do coins, and I'm not sure exactly how that'll play out, but I think again, if people want to read more about my opinion there, they can go to LinkedIn. And
would you say Would you say the same premise with countries creating their own, like USD coin or the yuan coin, or Japan's doing their own Japan coin? Like, what about that?
And the petro in Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try to do a quick prop here in real time. So, this US dollar here, it has a little token number on there, right? It has a serial number. Dollars are kind of tokenized already, aren't they? Now, should we have a digital database of all of the tokenized dollars? Okay, sure. But I still need to get from dollars to yen. What Ripple's trying to solve is that interoperability, that cross-border piece of real-time efficient settlement between dollars and yen, where today you're relying upon things like SWIFT, and it's slow, it's expensive, the error rates are really high. We can bring the nature of how this works into the internet age and now enable real-time transfers.
Speaking of yen, there's news, or at least rumor out there, that Ripple is being used between Korean and Japanese banks. Is that just rumor or truth or what?
Well, I mean, I mentioned that Ripple's working with over 100 banks around the world. We've announced just recently some stuff going on in Japan for sure. But look, we have 200 people here at Ripple who are focused on how do we grow usage of Ripple's technologies, and by extension, grow usage of XRP as a token and tool that can actually solve problems for banks. And it's a big problem. So, I don't know which specific customers you're thinking of, but, we're fortunate to make a bunch of progress.
Quick three-parter. I think the first two are going to go really quickly. It's not even a question. It's just a statement, and the question is inherent. The word is Coinbase.
Look, it is a high priority for the company to have liquidity at exchanges around the world. XRP is listed at over 50 exchanges around the world. We want to see it listed at more exchanges. That is a priority for us. But, look, I'm not going to, comment on the rumors that are out there. Suffice it to say, I think it's a high priority for us to have XRP listed.
You would like it. Okay, this one will be from one of our Facebook members. They want to know if you've tried or like cheddar bacon mac and cheese Lay's, the new potato chips.
The honest to God truth is I'm not a big fan of potato chips in general. So I have not tried
people
them.
Want to know. The real question is it a goal of the company to replace SWIFT as a payment mechanism?
The short answer is I think SWIFT has kind of been stuck in a model and a framework that was developed decades ago in terms of how this works. And I make this joke, but it's actually serious. It's kind of funny. But if I wanted to get money to London today, or, let's pick a more, I don't go to Brazil. I need to get $10,000 to Brazil. The fastest way for me to do that is to drive down the road, Highway 101 to San Francisco's International Airport, buy a ticket to Rio, and fly it there. I can stream video from the space station, and I can't move my own money from point A to point B efficiently. Like, it's just kind of crazy, right? So, look, I think, SWIFT has served a purpose. I think there are much more efficient ways for this to work. And, I'm really pleased by the momentum and the engagement we're getting from banks around the world and payment providers around the world.
That's so true, because here we are, we're dealing with the financial system and SWIFT and some of this other stuff, this banking, that was invented, 40, 50 years ago. So this is a lot of this technology has not, been innovated upon, throughout these last few decades, because you get these really wealthy, successful bankers, and they like to do business the way they like to do business. Disruption's not one thing they typically like a whole lot of, right? So that was just a statement. I have a question about these exchanges, because this is not even necessarily just a Ripple or an XRP question, because I was curious about this because there's some really cool tokens that are popping up that are doing stuff in the blockchain, and then it's very slow for them to get on those exchanges. And then I realized, oh wow, in some cases it costs $200,000 to get listed on some of these exchanges. What is your experience on getting onto these exchanges, and what are some of the costs that some of these coins are having to incur by getting on some of those exchanges?
It is another really good point, because, I think it's a painful journey. If I were, somebody launching a token right now, and again, I'd start with, does it have a real use case? Does it have real utility? Otherwise, just don't do it, because we haven't talked about ICOs in this session. But look, I've said and tweeted that the class action lawyers are salivating about these ICOs. But to your core point and question, okay, great, you launch a token. Now you need it to actually have some liquidity, and you got to get it listed at some exchanges. And does the world need 1,300 different tokens? I don't know.
We're just getting started. We're just getting started, Brad.
Some have projected that 10 years down the road, there'll be 1 million tokens, because there'll be just utility around all the different things.
But here's the thing about that. Isn't that just taking us back 1,000 years to a world is all barter? Everything has a token. And so there's a clearing price between every different event. That's the reason why currencies were developed.
Well, it's going to be good for you as long as you have the interoperability and being able to exchange them. So that sounds like a good long potential opportunity for Ripple there. That's great.
Well, and the Fed certainly likes the power and the control, right, over the currency. So the question is, do you see the Fed eventually adopting blockchain, coming out with Fed coin, and go out on a limb? Do you see them making certain crypto illegal to hold here in the United States anyway?
Well, I don't really see that happening. I think, again, if it is a legitimate token with a real use case, a real purpose, I think that the U.S. government so far has indicated that in a positive way, it's solving a real problem. Those that are pretending to be a token that are actually a security, I think they've also been clear that no, that's not so good. Ripple hosted an event this past October, I guess, up in Canada as part of a big banking conference, Sibos. And Ben Bernanke was our keynote speaker. And, first of all, I was super impressed the amount of knowledge he had about blockchain. But he made the point you're making, that governments are going to control their money supply, because their economy, their ability to manage the economy kind of requires that. And so it goes back to do I think there's a flippening that's going to happen where all of a sudden the dollar as the money supply of the U.S. is going to change to be a token that I don't know. I'm not that old, and I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime.
Well, but with the value of the dollar, falling, it's like the real Ponzi scheme, some would say, is fiat money.
It is obviously well documented that from inflation, the value of the dollar has been inflated. Depending on which time period you look,
print some more. Let's just print them. Come on, this is like just shooting out money.
Right. So is there a macro kind of fundamental economic dynamic here? Yes. But I still think governments want to control their money supply, and governments will fight very, 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 very hard to protect that. And I'll go back to what we talked about at the very beginning. I think those that are trying to work outside of the system, they're trying to work against, the revolution is going to happen from within. The revolution is not going to happen from the outside. I have said, we may end up finding, again, I'll say again, I'm long Bitcoin. Napster was pretty cool. Napster demonstrated digitizing music has some very cool value. You can put it in your pocket, you can take it with you, it's portable, all those kind of things. But guess what? Napster flaunted laws. Napster pretended that all kinds of royalties, all kind of stuff, and guess what? Napster's dead. Well, maybe now, I don't even know what the status of Napster is. But hey, Spotify, pretty cool.
Yeah, but they're not making any money.
Some of these guys are making money. I mean, the music industry is making money again for it was contracting for a long time. And, I think in some ways, Bitcoin originally was going to be the panacea for all transactions. It was going to replace the dollar and the yen and all these different things. I think Bitcoin does solve a problem, and it's called digital gold. It's a store of value. And by the way, that's a multi-trillion-dollar thing. And if Bitcoin today is $300 billion, I don't see any reason why Bitcoin couldn't be 20x this price in the next 5 years. I was on a panel, an MIT panel a couple weeks ago, and my prediction was that Bitcoin will be at 50,000 by the end of 2018. So I think Bitcoin, I'm long Bitcoin. However, I think you have to step back and say, what problem is it solving? What's the utility? I think Bitcoin's kind of a store of value. XRP is solving a multi-trillion-dollar problem around payments, around liquidity. So I don't even remember what question you asked and how I got there now.
But I got to follow up on that. So what's Bcash? Where does Bcash play a role in this?
Well, I think Bitcoin Cash is, I think, trying to be a more efficient Bitcoin.
No, Brad, it's Bcash. Okay, it's Bcash.
Well, one thing I will say about this real quickly, I think we have to be mindful of, is Ripple is selling technology to enterprises and banks, and they're building interconnects with that. If you're doing that on something that forks every 2 or 3 months, enterprises will not do that. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't think it's good for the system. And obviously, we're in the earliest days. I said at the beginning, I was fortunate to move out here in 1997 and be part of the earliest internet days. And I think we're seeing some of those same dynamics here today. But the revolution is going to happen from within the system, not the outside of the system.
I can't wait till we get Bitcoin cardboard. That's going to be like the fork that I want.
No, I'm going to invest heavily in XRP Cash whenever that comes out. I think that sounds great. Brad, is there any other things that you would like the citizens of Bad Cryptopia to know? Anything that we did not cover around Ripple that you would like to share with our wonderful audience?
No, guys, I really appreciate it. I'd like to share with the audience that it's always good to do an event with two fellow Midwesterners, Rock Chalk Jayhawk.
Rock Chalk.
Thanks again, Brad. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Travis, I really love doing these interviews with the movers and the shakers of the industry. And now we've got many of them reaching out to us that they would love to come and be on the show. And so, the format is fluctuating because we've got these shows that we have interviews with the leaders for features. And we've got these Bad Crypto quickies that we, pop out quickly when there's something happening in the space. We've got the ICO spotlights. We've got the teaching shows. And I love the variety, and I hope you, our listeners, do as well.
Yes, it's never a dull moment at the Bad Crypto Podcast. You don't know if you're going to get a quickie, if you're going to get a random song. You don't know who we're going to be interviewing the next show. I mean, we're keeping you on your toes. And you know what? The fans seem to really appreciate this because they keep coming back. And guess what? The numbers keep growing every single week. I mean, it's we've taken off like a rocket, like we were Bitcoin or something, or like we were Ripple at the end of December.
I figure everybody's just collective gluttons for punishment. And we're glad that you're here. Thanks for listening. Please do follow, share, subscribe, and review. Not necessarily in that order. Your results may vary.
And do your own due diligence.
Thanks again for listening, everybody. Mr. Travis Wright, would you please provide instructions to the citizens of the Republic of Bad Cryptopia?
We're all going to go down to the bar now, and we're going to go drink some Ripple so that way you can stay bad.
Who's bad?
The Bad Crypto Podcast is a production of Bad Crypto LLC. The content of the show, the videos, and the website is provided for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. It's not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice of any kind. You shouldn't make any decisions as to finances, investing, trading, or anything else based on this information without undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional financial advisor. Please understand that the trading of Bitcoins and alternative cryptocurrencies have potential risks involved. Anyone wishing to invest in any of the currencies or tokens mentioned on this podcast should first seek their own independent professional financial advisor.